What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I have another guest with me, a player who made it through the program, who is concerned, worried about where his playing time was going to go as a catcher and some of his skills. So this is Clark, everybody. Let's hear from him.
Hey everybody. So I joined the program at the end of summer, my senior year. I was really busy, but I got through the first month of blocking really, really well. I feel like my blocking did really progress. I went to like a PBR showcase, and when I watched the videos, like there was no way any ball was gonna get by me. It was something I was really proud of. But being super busy, like I took like two really hard AP classes, BC Calc and Chemistry, but I also drive like 30 minutes to school at night and 50 minutes to school in the morning. So with all my homework and with the driving time and all the homework I had, it got hard, but I got to stick it through. Another month, I did my best, but then the third month, I got packed really bad. But something that like really worked for me was just whenever I had time, I would just, even if I hadn't done anything for the entire week, I would just try and do something on that weekend if I had time. But I did find that through this program that as much as I love being a catcher, there are other things to life, like my faith. So I felt like, I was getting really good at this, but I felt like there was a calling somewhere else. So, hopefully I get into the Air Force Academy, but if not, I'm thinking about becoming a Catholic priest. I feel like I'm being called to that religious life in some area for my Catholic faith. I feel like it's a big part of my life and something I found that really makes me happy outside of baseball is my faith. So I think that, even though I worked really hard at this and I did learn a lot of things about catching, I think I did learn a lot more about myself and it made me a better religious person, a better Christian, and overall a better man. I think I just learned how to work hard when times are really tough and how to just fit everything in. But also I learned like what's really important to me, and something right now that's really important to me is my faith. So I put that front and center. So I'm just putting it in God's hands at this point, and my future will be what it will be, and I know that God will take care of me.
Amen, man. No, I love that. First and foremost, to anyone, if you're a Christian athlete, have a faith base, is God is first, no matter what. Clark was a special guy in this program because, as you just heard from him, he is willing to sacrifice anything to put his faith first. And there's not a lot of players at his age who are willing to do that. So very awesome as far as what he did, and he was still able to go through each day and get the work done. Again, on the, like he talked about, that third month it got hard for him because his schedule, and he is a brainiac for sure, taking hard classes. But Clark, honestly, if I want to highlight this kid, I don't know if we said, but he's from St. Louis. So cool part about Clark is the fact that he is someone who is extremely busy. And I get a lot of players coming to me that are talking about, I'm too busy. I don't know. Like, this kid sent me a schedule, and I think it's really hard to beat, especially when you add in classes, when you add in, his ministry calling, things like that. Definitely hard to beat. So if this dude Clark, was able to do this and go through, then I honestly now have no excuse for anyone else unless they can prove to me that their calendar is half as full as Clark's. Let's get into a few questions here, man. So let's talk specifically with your catching skills before we started working together. Okay, let's talk blocking, throwing, receiving, and your mental game. Where were you before we started working together with all that?
So just for some context, the winter before this past year, like so last winter, 1 year ago from now, I was doing just a catching thing with my team. It was once a week for an hour, and I got really good at everything. There were still some holes, but I was like to the point where, tryouts came along. I put on a little clinic there, but my coach decided not to play me the entire season. I was stuck in the bullpen, so I lost some of my skills, especially my throwdowns. They were just, my arm was like starting to climb up here, and it was a whole thing. But I started working with Coach Johnson. It definitely, like my blocking, there were some things I've never thought about, like how my back should be flat, how I should be leaning forward. I was definitely more like rigid and straight up. And I found that through his program, like when I said earlier, when I watched my PBR video, no matter what ball was thrown, there was no way it was getting by me. Like my glove was perfectly in between my legs on the ground. I was leaned over where even if it bounced up, it would have just gone straight back down. So that was a big thing, is my blocking was really locked. And my receiving, it's always been pretty good. I didn't really get to do much because we did throwdowns for month two. So for my throwing. As I said, like my arm was climbing really high with my elbow, and it was caused me to go from like a 195 pop time preseason to like probably a 215 midsummer. And then by this past fall at the PBR thing, I was throwing like a 2.0 again with really good carry. I grew a couple inches, so I wasn't as fluid, but my arm was down and I was throwing it like a lot harder than I was midsummer. So with more time, I think my transfer would have gotten there. I would have started throwing like sub 1.9. But I think that was something huge because I was thinking about my scap retraction, not how like the mechanics of my arm work for my size. So that was a thing that like really Coach Johnson really helped me with. And then for my mindset, I started thinking about things I never had before. Like if your pitcher's really in his head, you just got to go up there and say something really stupid, and he'll be like, "Wait, dude, what?" And then he'll focus back in on the game. Or like just other things I've noticed, like you should always be peeking at first and see where the kid's lacking, and then just be in like mentality like it's my game to win. So no matter what happens on the field, like if you lose, it's on you. It's on you. It's something big because that pushes you to work like harder. So if you let a ball by and then you lose, it's gonna be like, but it's not really why. It does like culminate to that. So you got to always help me think about how I always have to be in my top game because every stolen strike, every ball blocked, every kid I throw out, that's going to add something to the game and change momentum. So even though it may not lead to a run in that moment, it'll lead to runs down the road with the momentum change. So putting that pressure on you, but understanding it's like not a personal pressure, but it's like, I don't know, how do I say that? It's like no one actually expects it of you to be 100% perfect, but you got to expect it of yourself. So you work a lot harder, so everything means more. And that was something that was really good for my mental game was every single pitch you have to be 100% in. There's no pitches you take off, even if it's 3-0. Like that could be a pitch you frame back in, and then the kid's shivering because I don't know. Frame something really good. He's like, oh wait, what? And then usually when you think it's ball four and it's not, you're like okay, and you go strike out. So that could be like a big thing. And no matter what pitch it is, you always got to be in there.
Mm. No, man. Yeah. I mean, thank you for explaining where you were before, kind of the process we went through, and then the results you saw in those categories. Because, yeah, I think a big thing before you came in, you talked about kind of your PBR showcase video, and like you sent it to me, and I think what I was kind of sniffing was you were a little discouraged as far as what those videos looked like. And yeah, there's definitely some mechanical things and I saw them right away. Do you feel like now after going through the program and looking at like your new video you have, like is it very night and day, do you feel like? Are you happy with those results overall in each category?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty happy with them. I've always been pretty fundamentally sound, but just seeing the small tweaks, it gives me confidence in what I can do. For this spring, even though I've been so busy, I can't train as much as I would like to. I think what I know and what I've learned to be confident in, like, I think it'll make a big difference. So it may not seem obvious, like if you just put some random person who never knows, doesn't know anything about catching on there, and they'd be like, it looks the same. It wasn't that big of a change, but it was enough of a change to like make me an exponentially better player. So while like the results may be night and day different, it wasn't like I changed so many things. Like it was crazy. It was just small, simple things made a huge difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really helped with my mental game and just like the results. So
Yeah, no, you definitely went through it, and I loved like watching your video you would send like in your living room or like inside, and you getting your drills in like definitely after you had a long day. So honestly, I just want you to speak to any player out there that feels like, and I want this to be our common theme, but like just making the time. That's one of the big objections I get. Like, I don't know if I believe in this. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I can afford to invest in my career. So let's talk more about time today. For any kid watching this, how can you explain like, making time and how you did it with such a busy schedule?
yeah, so first thing I could say is like I don't know. Something I wish I had done would have been started at the beginning of the summer. So one thing that's huge, I think, is getting into a rhythm and like getting into a what's it called, like a habit. Had I started at the beginning of the summer, I think getting in that habit of doing every day for 3 straight months and then going to school would have been huge. But obviously, I started as school started, so something that was big was just first thing I would do when I would come home from work before summer ended, and when I would come home from school, would just do that. So I think just establishing it and doing it no matter what is huge. That's definitely like something that relates to anything in your faith. It's like no matter what, you are called to do something. Like for Catholics, we are required to go to mass, but not like on Sundays, but not because it's a rule, but because God gives you all these things. So why can't you give him 1 hour? So if God's giving you all these gifts, why can't you work on it a little bit every day? So there's something like you just got to say, no matter what, sick, tired. I mean, obviously, if you're like so sick you can't stand up, that's different. But like little tired, you're a little busy. Like no matter what, there's something greater there, and if you really want it, you just got to do it no matter what. That's what makes champions champions and losers losers. Is the losers go out there when they feel good and they look good, feel good, they play good, but the winners are the ones that go out there when they don't look good, they don't feel good, and they work as hard as they can. So they play good no matter what.
I think a big part of it is excuses, right? The best excuses you can believe are your own. One thing I'm so proud about you is, man, like you were able to make it work to the best of your ability with, like I said, an unreal busy schedule. For anyone watching this, like I can't emphasize enough, like Clark is literally trying to go to the Air Force Academy academically, and if you don't know anything about that, that is very hard to get into. And that is not only once you're there, or not only just getting in, but once you're there is a grind as well. And it's a very hard academic route. And that's something that he has full confidence that he can do. So more power to him. And that's just like a guy we're dealing with right now. And he was able to take time to improve his skills. And that's why I think it's so powerful in such a busy season of his life, going into senior year, probably trying to enroll into those schools, see if you can get into them, grow your faith and focus on catching. But yeah, 3 huge aspects. So let's transition into what the program looks like, man, and kind of your experience in that. A lot of players are curious how the training works. So kind of go in depth as far as your experience for anybody watching of what it's like to be in the program.
Yeah, so every single day you're gonna have modules of like what you should be doing. And obviously, at the beginning of every section you do, you need to watch some videos to learn what like the objectives are. So I know for blocking, it was like this is what we're working towards. For the first night, it was like we were looking for like bent forward, back straight, arms in, and all like the basic things. And then for the rest of the time will be how are we going to get there with all these drills. So pretty much every day when you like whatever you and Coach Johnson decide are the best days for you to work, you'll get a bunch of modules with videos and instructions on how many reps to do, and then you do those. I usually just recorded my last set, or if I wasn't happy with it, I just do another one and make it better, because I don't know, for some reason sometimes it'd be like my last one was my worst one, even though the third one, or like the one right before was the best one, so I just do it again. But yeah, you record them, send them to Coach Johnson, and he'll give you some feedback on what you should do better or what you should change a little bit and see what's working for you. It's really personalized. I felt like when I was going for those 2 months really strong, the feedback was great, and it really did help me change a lot of things. And Coach Johnson was really flexible when I was not flexible in my hips. I remember like one time I was so sore, like I couldn't even like get into a block position the correct way, and he was like, all right, we'll take a couple nights off and then start again. And that really helped because I was able to like think about it and watch the videos again and again, and then like stretch out, and then eventually get back to where I could just do it without being in any pain.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the direction is kind of my pillars, which is the first one is your custom plan. The second one is proper evaluation. The third one I have is the community aspect. And then the fourth one is those like group calls to go over kind of common themes and mental stuff. So yeah, that's exactly what Clark went through. And that's, the secret sauce. Obviously it takes daily evaluation, which is what separates you from just figuring out on your own. But for the next part, who is this program for? What kind of catcher, what kind of player would benefit from this program the most?
I would say this program is for someone who really wants it, and especially if you feel like you're overlooked. I know for me it was really good just because I was feeling like I kind of got shorthanded, and I feel like I should have played, and like a lot of things happen. Politics of high school baseball, it's going to happen no matter where you are. I feel like for someone who feels like they got dealt a bad hand of cards when they shouldn't have, and you like really want to make a change, or even you just really want to help your team in the best way possible, I think that's like who this program's for. It's someone who's just dedicated to a certain goal, whether that's playing varsity the next year, playing D1, or just helping your team win a state championship. If you're dedicated to that, I think this program's for you just because no matter what, it's going to take a little bit every single day. So little by little, you'll get there. Just takes commitment, 30 minutes a day, and that's who this is for. Anyone who has 30 minutes a day to chase their dreams.
So powerful, man. Honestly, amen to that. Now, in the negative, who is this not for? Who's not going to benefit or get results from this?
I would say someone who thinks they already got it all down. You have to be really open to listening. So, I knew like things were wrong. I just didn't know where to turn. So, someone who thinks they've got it all figured out, but they just want drills. Like, this is just go find drills online, bro. This is like you need to be open to what coach is going to tell you. So, you got to be like any coach is going to look for, whether it's high school or D1, is how well or how coachable you are. And if you're not coachable, then certainly if you want to be better, like more coachable, Coach Brock will help you. But if not, like if you're arrogant, it's just not going to work. Like you gotta be able to be humble. And he's played probably 8 more years than I have in baseball at much higher levels. So just understand, like, I'm not the one who's in the right here, or maybe not necessarily right, but I'm not the one with the experience here. Let's try this out and then evaluate from there. That if you're not willing to do that, then that's not for you.
Yeah, man. And honestly, you said it perfectly. I think a big attribute I look for in players when they're getting in the program is like, are you ready to submit? It's just like in our faith, right? Are you ready to submit to Christ? Are you ready to fully dive into that? And you could take that aspect to smaller parts of life, such as like, improving your catching or something that's minuscule compared to the kingdom of God, right? For sure. But if you take that same attribute as far as like just submitting and realizing I need help, you know what I mean? And there's people that are out there dedicated and willing to help. And that's what I try and show players. I spend my full time trying to help. So you just need to admit that you need it. And then you're going to listen a lot more than if you think you have it figured out. Now, would you recommend this program to somebody else? Maybe a friend, a catcher, someone else you meet who says, hey, I know you went through the program. Would you recommend it to them?
Depends who it is. If it's someone I know who's just like not really into it, then no. But if it's someone who I know and understand to be like someone who's a grinder, who really wants their dreams, then yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great gateway for people who really want something and feel like that's what they're being called to. And whether that's just being called to be a better Christian athlete or be a Division I catcher, then absolutely.
Amen, man. I love that. Let's go kind of into the remote training because that's a huge objection I get and people don't really understand it. And since you've gone through the program and saw results, I believe that you're definitely someone who's on that wave. But what beliefs did you have about online training before I was working with you?
I had done it before, so I thought it definitely works. I understood like what Coach Johnson said to me at first was like, you may get to see that one coach in person for an hour once a week, but if you think about it, that's like 10 minutes warm up, and he's instructing 12 other kids, so that's 50 minutes divided among 12 kids of instruction once a week. Whereas even if it's only 15 minutes a day, and you go 5 days a week, that's an hour and 15 of personal training. So I think virtual, if your in training is not you, is not just you and maybe one or two other kids with a coach every single day for an hour, then virtual is going to be better just because it gives you don't have to conform to a schedule. As much as I said you should get on a habit, sometimes for schedules like it can vary day by day, and that can be really hard for in-person coaching because it just gets they have lives too that gets booked, whereas this is like there's always going to be something out there for you, and there will be the response won't have to be like, let's stop everything. We can focus on so many different things at once. So
yeah, I mean, when you work with an in-person coach and you're paying him for an hour, that in-person coach is going to feel obligated to give you as many reps as possible since you're paying for him. And it's really hard for them to dump knowledge, right? Or if they want to talk a lot in that session, parents usually get upset like, hey, give him more reps. That's what he needs. But you're only getting reps for, 1 hour a week from a high-level coach versus, you don't necessarily need the coach to feed you the reps. You need his knowledge and for what you should be doing form-wise and all that. So, no, you definitely said it right. What would you say to somebody on the fence right now who is looking at the program and is watching this and they're like, I just don't know. It could be about time. It could be mostly about they don't believe in remote training. What's a quick sentence or two you can tell them?
I would say you just have to decide. You're not going to get anywhere by sitting there and being like, I don't know. So at some point, if especially if you're going to be a catcher, like you just got to make a decision and roll with it. If that's no, then if you want it, you'll find it somewhere else. But if it's yes, then if you're leaning towards the yes, but you're like maybe, like just say yes, and it'll work out. Because if you really want it and you're like maybe, then you're like you're maybe on your future. Then if you really want it and you're yeah, like just have that mindset. It'll translate to catching too. Like one time Coach John said, like if you're thinking like don't overthrow it because you're not confident in yourself, then you're gonna overthrow it. So it's like I don't know about my future. I don't know. Then you're like it's not gonna work out because you're like no future, no future, no future instead of yes future, yes future, yes future.
No, that's perfect, man. And then just real quick in a quick sentence, if you had to compare in person to remote one last time, what would you say? Because, I think you have experience in both.
I would say in person, it's like turf and natural fields. So like the best natural field is always gonna be better than the best turf field. But a bad natural field is always gonna be worse than a bad turf field. So in this case, I think turf is virtual because you can get a really good turf field. And if that's what this is, like every single day for a little bit with coaching like that, it's going to be great. But obviously, if you have, by the grace of God, a coach who's going to be out there no matter when, like whenever you want him, 7 days a week, one-on-one or one-on-two coaching, like that's obviously going to be better. But for the most part, unless you're a gazillionaire or the son of an MLB player who like has all the access to everything, then like this is going to be so much better than in person. Like I wouldn't say quit your in-person stuff as well if it's with your team, but most definitely this is going to help you bridge that gap of like I only practice once a week, I don't know what to do, to like I know what to do, and then I can go into my in-person and just get more reps because that's what you're going to get. I think this is like better for developing the skills in an appropriate way so that when you do go in person, you can just get the reps and like lock it down.
No, I think that was perfectly well said. Again, if you have access to a great in-person coach who you have his full attention every day and you can work with him, by all means. I have yet to see that. But, if you're going to compare working in a remote program as a mature kid where the biggest thing you need is your questions answered and proper evaluation, it really doesn't matter how it's delivered, right? It doesn't matter if I was in person handing you the box with your answer inside or if I sent you an email with it, right? What matters is the information and then how frequent can we get that. Man, I honestly think that you have covered everything and I just want to open it up real quick for any last words you want to say in general. I know your future is yet to be decided as far as if you're even going to continue ball, but I'm just so proud of the results you saw so then you can have that senior year that honestly I think you kind of were maybe worried about at one point over the summer about your skills with. So I'm just super proud of you, man. But yeah, is there any last things you'd like to say for anyone watching this?
Yeah, I think I would say like at the end of the day, baseball is still just a game. It's meant for you to enhance your life, to build relationships, learn more about yourself, become a better man, to have fun. And your life is not defined by your baseball career because, 1% of people become MLB All-Stars or 1% of 1% or whatever. They're the ones who become MLB All-Stars who are remembered by their baseball career. But the rest of us, it's not going to be that way. So we're going to be remembered by how hard we work and how good of a man we are. And if baseball's taken away from that, then it might be your calling to do something else. But I think that baseball is a great way to become a better man, learn about yourself, learn about others, learn how to be a leader. And I think it just takes a decision to be made. Like, do I become a better man, do all these things by baseball, or do I find another avenue? And honestly, both ways are great because either way, it's what the Lord's going to push you to. So if that's through baseball, to help your teammates, help yourself, and learn about yourself in all these other ways, then that's the way to go. But if not, you're not defined by your baseball career at all. You're defined by who you are and how hard you work. So if you do something else, if you work hard and keep God in the middle of your life, then it's going to work out great and you're going to be just as good of a man.
That makes me happier than any other result I can ever hear from a player. Any other pop time, number, blocking percentage, whatever. Like, yeah, man, Christ first, fully. And, one thing I want to instill in players, especially going forward, because Clark's even taught me so much is, allowing kids to not just identify as a baseball player and that just be their only idolization and sole identity. because you're so much more than that, right? You're a son of God. You are a man who is being shaped right now and molded, right? So baseball is a game for us to have fun. It's a game we play in our backyard and we've played since kids. And yeah, it's great to go as far as we can and see results. But having that mindset as far as there's a bigger picture is actually going to make you a better player, genuinely. You're going to play more free and you're going to be able to glorify the Lord as you do it more. And this is a game of failure. So how good can you fail? You know what I mean? But Clark, thank you for saying that. I think that speaks to many other players watching this. You're blessed going forward, man. I know it for sure. I think you have huge things in your life, in your baseball career. I'm excited to see what happens this spring for you. So I just want to say thank you, man. It's been a pleasure to meet you, pleasure to work with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is Clark Davis from St. Louis. If you are looking to work with me, if you are curious about all this, I get on calls with players and their parents so then I can explain everything I have to offer, what my program looks like. And if you want to get on a call with me, I will have my booking link below in this description, okay? If you want to see more about what I do, anything else, you can find my YouTube at Backstop Built. There's a bunch of testimonials of other guys in my program there. You can go to my Instagram at Backstop Built and Facebook at Backstop Built and check out everything I have going on. I am seeking to help young men become the best version of themselves behind the plate, physically and mentally, in order to glorify the Lord. As a Christian athlete, as a catcher, whether they have a faith background or not, but my overall goal is to help players become that best version of themselves. I just want to thank Clark again. It has been such an honor, and let's go, man. Amen.